We recently helped a B2B SaaS company called Glassix book 120 qualified sales calls in 6 months using an outbound system that didn't require any SDR team. We've done the research, and usually an SDR team that even includes 2 SDRs will cost you up to $250,000 per year, including software costs, onboarding, and all related costs. So in this video, I'm going to go over an alternative way that we have been using for our clients that is booking a lot of calls and is outperforming an SDR team by a lot while being way cheaper. And it's just basically a system that you can use to automate every step of the way except the parts where a human actually is required. And it's going to lower your costs by, I'll say, probably 90%, while improving your results by at least 100%, if not by 10 times more. We've been seeing insane results for our clients using that system without having an internal SDR team and without them even being required to have an SDR team because the results are so good. So let's get into how you can build that system in your business and what we did precisely to get those type of results. So basically, we got 120 booked calls in 6 months for Glassix without any SDR hires, without any ramp up, and without any tenure churn. The main problem we usually see is that good SDRs get promoted very fast, and the bad ones are not the ones that you want to hire for your company. So what usually happens is that you either hire a bad SDR who has been doing that for 2 years but doesn't know their stuff, and that's why he wasn't promoted yet. And the second option is that you hire someone who's completely fresh, who's just getting into the market and doesn't have any experience, which also is a massive bet because you don't know if they're going to be good or not. And if they are good, they're going to get promoted very fast, or they'll leave to a different company, will get them better compensation for their skills, because an SDR is a job that no one wants to stay at. And because of that, what happens is that you get your pipeline from your SDR, maybe they are good and they start booking you calls, but they leave you after like 8 months and they take their LinkedIn profile with them, and you lose the entire pipeline that hasn't been handed off yet to the account executive. And it's a massive problem that we see in a lot of companies that still use the traditional SDR method. So let's get into how you can avoid that problem and build internal systems that are going to book you consistent results without being relied upon a person who is going to churn you. So before we automate the SDR job, we need to understand that an SDR job isn't just one job. It's actually 5 jobs bundled into one salary. So those jobs are targeting, finding the right contacts, writing the outreach messages, replying to the incoming leads, and handling no-shows. So usually nobody is great at all 5, but in most SDRs are at best mediocre at some of these and really bad at the other ones. So we're going to show you how to get the best results in each step of the way without requiring a big SDR. So the first thing is targeting. What most SDRs do is they'll go to Sales Navigator and they'll search for 10 to 100 employee tech companies, and they'll look for the CEO, and then they'll export that list, and this is the list that they're going to use. And maybe if they're more sophisticated, they're going to drop it into Claude and ask him to filter out the bad fit leads. But there are 2 problems with that approach. The proclaimed industries that people put in their LinkedIn profile are usually not the ones that you're actually looking for. So you might be looking for a software company and you'll put the industry tag of software development in the LinkedIn Sales Navigator search, but probably 40 to 50% of these are going to be like IT consulting companies or like dev shops from India that are saying that they are on the US, and just really not accurate leads that you don't really want to contact. So that's problem number 1. And problem number 2 is that you get the same data that everyone gets. So everyone is pitching to the same people and you don't have any competitive advantage in your lead list. So what we do is something completely different. First, we look for traditional databases for the type of leads that we are looking for. So for example, we are looking for funded EU companies. We'll go to the Cordis database, which is basically like a free online registry where you have all of the funded EU companies, and then you can just use AI to filter out the bad fit leads using Cloud Code. And you can also look for funding and product launches and run basically cron jobs. They're going to check, let's say, every day if there's a new hire in your target list, or a new funding, or any new related company news that you can mention in your outbound. So this is something that SDR team is not going to do. Maybe they'll find some news individually on some companies, but it's not going to be a repeatable process that they are going to do every day. And with AI, you can just do it without any headcount. So like, I'll give you an example. For our cloud clients, we are going to companies who have been funded 2 years ago, so we know their AWS credits are likely expiring by that point, and this is something we can mention in the messaging, and it's giving us extremely accurate lists and extremely accurate messaging, and it's giving us really good results. So this is something that you just can't achieve with a Sales Navigator list. So the second thing is contacts. What usually happens is then you have your Sales Navigator company list, and then you're going to go to LinkedIn and find the decision maker in each company. It's going to be very tedious, and it's not going to be very efficient. And even if you use databases like Apollo and you get the leads from there, still we are back to the same problem where you are contacting the same person that everyone else is contacting, and you don't have any competitive advantage in your data. So once we get our unique list of companies that we want to reach out to, we have our in-house system that basically guesses 10 variants per. We have our in-house system that basically use an API to search each company, who is the founder of this company, and that way we get probably 80% of the companies filled with accurate names of the person who is in fact the founder and CEO of that company. And after we have that step of the way, we'll basically use AI to spin up 10 variations of each person's email, guesses. Basically, they'll take the domain of the company, and they'll take the names, and they'll try to guess the email address. And then we'll use a validation API like Lead Magic, and we'll see basically if those guessed email addresses, which one is actually legit and is the real email address. And it's working really well for us. We're getting probably from a full list, we'll probably get like 60 to 70% of the names being found by that method. So it's a great coverage for our lists, and it's working really good on high scales especially. And that way you're getting leads that no one has access to, because everyone is getting their leads from LinkedIn, and this is like a unique way to get good and accurate lead lists of contacts, and they are not getting as much messages as the LinkedIn lists are getting. So the next thing is messaging. A lot of people are trying to be unique, and they'll try to use AI or personalization, like loved your recent post about blah, 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 blah. And it's going to take you a lot of time, and it's not going to increase your conversion rate in any way. And what we are doing is just using the lists that we are building as the messaging for what we are sending. So let's say we have 1,000 companies that have been funded 3 years ago. We are going to mention that. Hi, I saw you've been funded in the date that have been funded, and AI is going to fill that variable in. In that situation, you've probably used all of your AWS credits, and then you put the offer that is relevant to that situation. So this is going to be way more efficient on a large scale than writing individual first lines, and it's going to convert way better because it's actually relevant to the offer, and mentioning their last post is not going to be relevant to what you're offering usually. So this is how you can convert better on a larger scale without the headcount needed for the manual personalization. The next thing is handling replies, which I see a lot of companies get wrong. And basically what you want to do is, whenever you get a positive reply, immediately address whatever the person said. So if they said, let's book a call, immediately just book a call, no additional information. Yes, I'll send you an invite for the time you mentioned. But usually you're not going to get those type of responses, and what you're going to get is responses like, can you share more information, and can you explain this and this, and what's your pricing? So whatever the prospect asked, immediately address that in the first line. This is the only thing that matters. After that, you need to tailor what you just said into why they need to book a call with you. So let's say you're offering another line of AWS credits as a partner. So what you're going to say, so the person asked for more information, so you're going to say, yes, so basically as a partner, we can get you another line of credits. To move forward with that, we'll need to understand your current infrastructure on AWS. So that will take a 10-minute call. I'm available XYZ. Let me know if those times work, or you can book here in our link. So address what they said, tailor it into why they need to book a call with you right now, offer some times, and you can also offer a link, but it's usually best to just offer times that are in their time zone. And this is how you handle replies. That's what you should do. And very important is that once a person replied to you and showed interest and you did your initial response, keep following up every 3 to 4 days until you get a response, until you get a yes or a no. This person has showed interest and there is no reason why you should stop following up. Just keep following up, send a message every 3 to 4 days until you get a yes or a no. You need to differentiate between a cold list of people that have not shown any interest, and in that case, you just don't need to follow up as much. But someone who did show interest and didn't book a call, just keep hammering them every 3 to 5 days. And the next thing an SDR does is handling no-shows. So no-shows are basically the same thing as following up on interested leads, but even more aggressive. So the person booked a call with you and he didn't show up. It's probably a calendar issue. It's probably something that came up. Just send a follow-up immediately the moment he doesn't show up. Hey, I saw you didn't show up. Let's book a call for XYZ times. Offer more times. If he doesn't answer to that, send a follow-up a day after. If he doesn't answer that, send another follow-up 2 days after, and basically just add one more day to the next follow-up. So the next follow-up will be 2 days after, and then 3 days after, and then 4 days after, and like that, just keep sending infinite follow-ups until you get a response. So be very aggressive if you're following up, and also on the interested replies. But on cold leads, you don't need to be as aggressive. Just send one follow-up to a cold lead, and you can re-engage them in like 90 days. So this is basically the system and how you can automate it and just get one person who will handle the replies and no-shows, and not just a 10-employee SDR team who's going to cost you a bunch, and the results are going to be inconsistent because of the human variables, and going to churn and take their entire pipeline with them. So this is going to compound. It's going to work from day one. It doesn't require ramp up. It's going to be a tenth of the cost of a SDR team, and it doesn't resign ever. So keep a human for closing the deals, for responding to the leads, for handling the no-shows, and stop using humans for building lists, for the initial first email, and finding the right contacts for the right companies. So this is the entire system, and we've used that to book 120 meetings for Glassix in 6 months without any SDRs. And I hope you got value from this video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to learn more, and I'm going to share more of these videos with information on what's actually working in 2026 and how you can book calls for yourself. And if you want to work with me, feel free to book a call in the link down below in my website. And if you're a good fit, we'll work together. And if not, you can just keep learning from the videos I'm going to post. So I hope you got value, and I'll see you soon.